All right, back in it. Sometimes Instagram likes to play funny with me, act like it doesn't know how to operate. This might be one of those cases where it just doesn't do the thing that we want it to do, in which case we troubleshoot and we overcome and we figure out a way to do the thing that we want to do. No, I am not on test. I don't take steroids. Thank you for the compliment. Fingers crossed. Sometimes technology just doesn't operate the way that you want it to, man. And what do we do when that happens? Come on. All right, so this happened to me the other day, Marshall, and what happened was, for some reason, I wasn't able to invite you with another guest, but he was able to start a live through his account. So let me try something. Yeah, I'm gonna try something. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Ah,
I had to kick over and did something. I just kept messing around till
hey, perseverance.
and I had to do it. I was on my laptop. It just doesn't seem to be so. Got the phone going, so it seems to be working okay.
Hey, that's what matters, is that we made it happen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's so great to see you again.
Back at you, my friend. How you
Honestly.
doing?
I'm good. Honestly, just like the chance to just see you face to face again, and so
Always a
much has
pleasure.
I feel like so much growth has occurred since I last saw you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah,
Spiritual, mental, physical.
wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna say the same. It's always every day is a day of growth. I mean, at least try to be some in some form or fashion, right?
Well, honestly, that's why I wanted to talk to you, because from my perspective and from a lot of others within the sport of natural bodybuilding, we look up to you as a shining example of what we actually can achieve within this
Oh,
sport and the longevity that's associated with natural bodybuilding in a way that no other sport can truly capture. So
mm,
I'd really like to kind of give you the floor just to I'm looking for perspective and wisdom that can be
mm.
shared with athletes my age or younger so that we can get an understanding of we can do this for decades and the growth doesn't end, you
Right,
know?
right. Well, first of all, I'm humbled and thank you for the admiration from yourself and other fellow athletes, and back at you guys. I look up to you and other athletes, young guys that are motivating me to keep going. And strive to be my best or be better. So um, I would say this. I don't know about words. Wasn't It's not probably not much I can say that hasn't been said, but I will say it from this perspective as far as longevity is concerned. Um, don't let anyone tell you what you can't do. You have to decide in your own mind if something is achievable or not. And I think when you listen to enough, if you will, naysayers or those that say you can't, you assume that you can't. When I came back and started competing at 50, I had really taken, kind of a hiatus sabbatical for about 10 years working, doing Harley thing, building Harleys or not so much building, but just modifying and riding and enjoying, worked out, but didn't work out as much, as if I were trying to come back to the stage, if you will. And there's a mosquito that has gotten in here somehow. I was working on my deck today, and
Nice.
mosquitoes got in, so that thing it's flying around. I'm gonna I'm gonna kill it here in a minute. Sorry, guys, I got to do it. I got to do it in. He's not gonna live if I get him because he
I
can't watch.
support.
So when I came back at 50, um, I just thought, you know what? I'm going to come back and jump in and get it done. First show I did, first amateur show, I think I placed third, just trying to figure out where my body was, right? And I said, I can win this thing. So when I won several shows as time went on that year and got my pro card or pro cards and then turned pro, I just figured I looked at who was out there, and one of the guys that came up along the way, believe it or not, was a guy named Philip Ricardo. His picture came up, and I said, "Man, this guy is crazy." I said, "There's no way." I said, he says he's natural. I said, if that's no, I said, well, if he says he's natural, I can get there. I can be where he is. So I just started grinding. I didn't have anybody telling me at 50 I couldn't do it. So I did it. So I guess the words of wisdom, if you will, or just motivation is to say, you can do far beyond what people say you can do, and you can stay in the game longer than they say you can stay. Now, the one caveat to that is I've always been natural. So my body, fortunately, responds. I mean, obviously, some things are genetic, right? You're going to have some genetics that factor in there. But with that being said, with that variable, there's still things that you can achieve beyond what you think you can or what others say that you can at 50 and beyond. So turning 65 November 21st, I just don't see, when I look in the mirror or when I get ready for a show, I'm thinking, next show I'll be better, next show I'll be better, next show I'll be better. And my body is changing, so I'm going to segue a little bit. Body's changing, so training myself, I'm like a coach and coaching me because my body came in a little different. I thought, man, this should have been on point. Let me change and tweak some things. So I'm always, and then I hit something that last year and I went, oh, okay, I see what I got to do in order to bring that level that I had before, because the body's just changed a little bit, how it responds to carbs, how I'm going to load carbs and things like that, whether I'm going to do um, what they call rapid backload, or that's the term that has been given. But I kind of stumbled on that years ago by accident. And or do I need to load, a day or two before? So I've concluded that I need several days. Couple other little secret things in there. Yeah.
So one thing that when we linked up back in July-ish,
Yes.
I kind of noticed that like you weren't really tracking calories, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And you were like heading into a show. And ever since I linked up with you, like I kind of just stopped tracking calories and start eating more intuitively.
Sure.
And I've kind of, since meeting with you, I've kind of adopted this mindset of a growth mentality over anything else, where
Sure.
you grow into your next show.
I like that.
And yeah, you
Yeah.
get leaner,
Hmm.
but you're worried less about like getting lean and more focused on a continual state of growth.
So it's kind of for me, it's both and, right? So as I am getting ready, I'm, doing things to harden up and separation and posing and all of that. So my weight is dropping. So I have, when I say I'm not tracking, I don't put it on paper. I just never have.
Hmm.
I've never done it in my life. Um, and I know people swear by it. You got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it. And for some people, maybe they have to, but that's a lot of, like I can't. It's just too much going on in life, right? For me to carry that. Hey, God bless y'all. When you carry your scale to the airport, carry your scale, to the hotel.
Hmm.
That is
Hmm.
just too.
Yeah.
My mind won't go there. It's too
Hmm.
much. So I'm always looking at, I kind of target where I should be, and by the end of the week, if I am on a particular calorie deficit, right, I should lose about a pound and a half. Looking at what I'm eating, and that's going to vary a little bit. So the term, if it fits your macros, that's just something, it got coined, but I've always done it.
Okay.
I've always done it, and my body has responded accordingly. Now, if I got to a place where it was like not responding at all, then I now there are times when I become a little bit more focused, like, okay, some things aren't changing. Let me just make sure I'm not eating something here, and I'm assuming I'm at this caloric intake. That's where you got to be careful. And you thought you were here, but you're here. But within you'll learn that is, hey, you know what? The body's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to be something, but ultimately, in a certain amount of time, based on a caloric deficit, you should see your body dropping, or you
Mm-hmm.
should definitely see. Let me back up a little bit. You should see the body starting to change, right? Because the scale is a tool, right, that we use to say, hey, I'm hopefully in a caloric deficit, and it's going to give me some reading to let me know that. But ultimately, what the mirror says defines what's really happening. That way you don't get discouraged, and because we all do, it's like, man, I should have been down. I'm up half a pound. I'm looking in the mirror going, because I pose in the morning, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm thinking, I am harder than I was yesterday by far, or earlier this week. It's just, and so I coined this phrase that I say to myself: Marshall, stay the course. And that is like somebody telling me, listen, this is where you are. Your show is here. Your weight is wherever, but the way you need to look, you're on, stay the course. If you get to this point and somehow you're off, okay, deal with it. But I've never gotten to this point staying here. But what I have done is allow my mind to calm down, stay the course, cortisol level stays down, and I'm right where I need to be.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Now I use cardio as kind of a tool as well. I can kick that up, kick it down, to give a little bit. It's not the be all end all if you really, have a bad diet, but it is a tool that you can utilize effectively, and mhm.
I just think what you're talking about is like such a high level of skill, of knowing your body. And if there's anything I've learned from you, which is a lot, is that
Thank you.
it's
Yes.
you're so mental. You are so mental with like how you communicate with your body, how you make these assessments. You're so in tune with the vision, and you land that vision when it comes to an upcoming show.
Yes.
And if you
I'm trying
don't
to.
land the vision, then you make adjustments to figure out why.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'll give you an example that just happened recently. So the Orton Cup. Um, that show, I came in, hard, lean, tight when I first got there. That was September 27th, 28th. Hard, tight, everything was great. They changed, and it's not a fault of anyone's. You just got to be ready for certain things. And I wasn't quite ready, meaning this: how the show flowed, how I assumed it was going to flow. The order of events changed a little bit because we had A class, B class, C class, and D class. I was in C. So there's certain things that morning I thought, well, I should probably load, but you know what? I'm good. I'm gonna hold here. I'm gonna eat, but I'm not gonna go heavy because I should be hitting the stage at, knowing my body. And when the show, we got there, had a meeting. So they said, hey guys, a lot of guys, we're gonna change things a little bit to make sure, we can really see everybody. And I actually asked, I said, once he explained everything, and I had him, I said, are you saying, he goes, yeah, here's what I'm saying, is that A class and B class are going to compete against each other completely. So what OCB does is that they take the top 2 or 3, depending on how many classes, and they pose down, for the overall. But because it was big classes, A, B, C, and D, A and B were going to go through their uh, competition individually, and then they were going to compete against each other to get the top 3 from those 2 divisions, all the way through. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but when you are targeting, and I know my body, and he said, and then when they got their 3, then we were going to do C and D, routines all the way through, get your top 3 from each one, then post down to get your top 3. Then these top 3 will go with that top 3. When I got the top 3, I knew I'm flat. Man, I had some snacks. I should have eaten them. It was one point, so Victor was there's some phenomenal competitors all over, but Victor took 3rd. Sully came back and he said, Marshall, between you and Victor, there was 1 point. But I actually looked it up, and sure enough, I was in 4th place. And, I thought, man, 1 point, you'd rather be off by 5 points than 1. You're like right there. And so I'm thinking, man, I should have followed my mindset. Like I'm telling myself, you should eat. And I thought, no, I'm good. I'm tight. And Sully had said, some of this is going to work for some of you guys that are like not quite tight enough. You're going to tighten up. And those of you that might find that, you might lose a little bit. And that was me. The first time that's ever happened. First time. I'm usually, my body will just stay full. So it was a learning experience. So when I came in for the Masters National, I tweaked some things. I said, you know what? I know what I'm going to do. So I did some things prior to going into the show, should that happen or whatever. And a guy called, and he wanted to know, his older guy, he was just asking me, he said, Marshall, what are you going to do? I said, man, this is what I'm going to do for this show. I said, I've been doing this depleting thing, and I deplete all the way down, and I can't. Here's what happens. I fill up, and I'm coming back, and I realize I can't just do a rapid or heavy backload on Friday. I've got to take 2 days, and then I rigged almost 3 days. And I was like, man, my body's just burning, which is great. But in order to get back, and I'm looking at my physique, literally when I started, I'm thinking, I was better Sunday morning. Week before, literally, and so, in your mind, you think, well, if I deplete and load back in, I should be better. But every time I'm like, man, I am just not, my vascularity is not as pronounced. And, like 2 days later after the show, you're where you need to be, right? We've all kind of experienced that. So I did the Jordan Cup, and that's what happened. I thought, okay, we're going to change it. So going into Masters National, I said, not going to deplete. It's the first time I said, in my mind said, you're not going to deplete? You have these conversations. Man, I said, I'm already, I have these conversations with me, not out loud, but in my head. No, I look better. I look better on Sunday. I'm not going to deplete. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it all the way. I'm going to stay low. And all I'm going to do is when I get to Thursday and Friday, I'm going to load. I'm not going to load heavy. I'm going to load moderately. And someone sent a message. They saw my picture, said, Marshall. In fact, it was, I forget her name. She said, this is the best I've ever seen your legs look. Oh my gosh. Well, if you've seen me a number of years ago, you would have said, but I know what she meant. This is the best I've seen them really since you've been. And sure enough, I was there. I thought, okay, I've hit something. The body has changed. And so when I told this guy that I wasn't going to deplete, he goes, you're not going to deplete? I said, no, because here's the thing you got to learn. I know this is the protocol everybody follows, but you have to follow what you know is going to work for you. Now, if you have a coach, you got to follow what your coach wants you to do. And most people, everybody, just about everyone says, hey, I'm deplete. This is peak week. I'll start my deplete. I'm going to start early. That's great. And if it works, and it used to work really well for me, right? Because I could deplete all the way down and literally do 1,000 carbs on Friday, and then I would always do pancakes Saturday morning and kind of fill up. And I should have did that for the Orton. I should have really got up early that morning, but we were going to be on stage early. I thought, but ended up being on stage late. So that factor, so it taught me. So I said, I should have packed something. I should have brought with me. Just a mistake on my part. But my body didn't hold the way it usually holds. So the change I made was go against all that go against everything you hear. It's peak week. Everybody's depleting. I'm not depleting. Nope. I'm on point Sunday. I will be at least this good, which will be better than I was at the Yorton. or I will be better. And
Right.
I was better.
I think about that all the time. I honestly want to do more shows just so I can experiment with Peak Week because I'm not like a dogmatic person,
Yeah.
and I'm incredibly curious.
Yeah.
So I want to find out for myself. Like I want to do 20, 30, 40 shows and do something slightly different each time to see if like
Yeah.
what happens, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to ask you about the it factor. And it was something that we were talking about briefly on the Zoom call that I had you on like a couple weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
where you were talking about how like the stage presence and how you're able to like kind of take the energy and be recognized as that guy on stage. And I would like to get a better understanding as to like how you would articulate that because like you've beat athletes that are bigger. You've beat like, and when I think about bodybuilding, it's like the whole sport is to have like the biggest body on stage with like the best conditioning and size, shape, and symmetry and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So how do you specifically come on stage and beat an athlete who is bigger? I want to better understand how that works.
Well, let me not lose that question, but let me say this so I won't lose where you're going. You know, when I'm in the gym and I'm talking to the younger guys or whoever, and they look really good, and they say, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna do a show." I said, "Man," he goes, "Yeah, but I'm gonna pick up. I need to pick up more size. My coach says I need to, I need to get bigger." No, dude, you don't need to get bigger. I'm, when I'm saying it, and I'm saying it in a way, I'm not saying, "Dude, you don't need to get bigger." I'm just saying to them, I don't say that you need to get leaner, but what I'm trying to communicate to them is size doesn't mean anything unless that size is really conditioned enough to show the muscle and presentation on stage. So, uh, presentation, having the physique, obviously you've got to have the physique, and you've got to bring that level of conditioning to be able to show and what you've got, right? But then you have to pose confidently, you know, and you can get caught in the moment. What I said to someone once again, let you know things that I go through at the Jordan Cup. I got caught in the moment. I was like, man, you know. The guys are here, 5-time champion. I changed a couple things, and I said, I'm going to kind of do something a little. I should have never changed anything. So I came back and I had my own, um, you know, critique with myself. I said the same thing you've told guys over and over. When you're on stage, you are on stage by yourself. You are competing against you. I know the guy in front of you, when you do a quarter turn, you're seeing them, you go, oh my gosh, this guy's hard. You're just, you're hard, but man, this guy, it doesn't matter what they look like. You have to stay focused on what you're doing, where your feet are. When you turn, always turn with confidence, always turn and, lock in. And you know, at least at that point, and I judge as well, you cause the judges to take notice, go, and move Shaun, number 27 over there with so and so. I want to see what he looks like. He's not, and when you get in the mix, at least you're in the mix, and now you have a better opportunity, to move up that, move up that, from
Interesting.
second on that top three, top five,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But when it comes to, let's say there's a bodybuilder who has a
We're talking
bigger
about,
physique,
yeah,
huh?
bigger, bigger. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Let's say he's bigger and his conditioning is just as good.
Yeah, yeah.
There's still a way to like expose their weaknesses, right?
Well, it says something, Phil Rico and I used to talk about. I don't know if they do it anymore, but I'm sure guys do, but old school guys like Rico and I, whoever's in the show, we've already studied them. I know exactly what you're going to, I know your poses. I know how you hit them. I know your weaknesses. I know where I've got you at. I know what I need to bring. I know where I need to hide that weakness when you hit this. I know when I need to really accentuate what I need to accentuate. Now, the question is, hopefully the judge will call all those poses, because I've been in some shows recently where they didn't call all the poses. A couple of them were my best poses. So, but all that being equal, you kind of know what they're going to do. And as a good bodybuilder or, physique, male or female, study your opponent, study what they do, how they do it. Because when you hit the stage, you need to know when they move you next to them, hey, this is their strong pose. If their pose, I'll use one for example. When you hit a side tricep, and I think this has probably come more from the NPCIBB, where the guys have huge legs, whatever. They hit a side try, and they've got the leg to the side, and then they put the leg out. You know what I'm talking about? Where they try to set on it. Well, if that's not your pose, don't follow them. Stay where you are, because that's really not a pose. The reality of it is that's not a side chest, a side try pose, if you will. You can do it. And if you got to, you add a little, pizzazz to that pose. But if your legs in that position is not your best look, don't follow it. If that's their strong pose, so in my hamstrings, right, from the inside, when I'm down low, when you saw my picture here, when I said, oh, this is a picture from New York and Cup back in the day, you said, man, I can see your hams from the front. As a little, I said, yes. So when I'm on, I'm digging and grinding. So if they're hitting, if they are, I'll just do it here. If you can see, so I'll just stand up. If they're here, right, and you hit your side try, boom, and they turn their leg like this. Can you kind of see what I'm doing?
Yep,
Turn their front page.
Yep.
When they go that way, if my hams are really hitting, then I kick this leg back and I squeeze this so that the judge now their quads are good, but I know my hams are kicking.
Yeah.
So now we got, didn't dominate me in that pose. So when we go to the poses where I'm going to be either a little bit better or those are my signature poses, if they haven't studied, then I have an upper hand. I have a little bit more being able to sway the judges to go, this is, and you're trying to split the judges, and you're trying to split more in your favor, right, than in their favor. So, when size is one of those, if guys that typically bring big physiques, if they're conditioned, it's tough, but they've got to pose. They've got to be able to present it. And if you are a seasoned judge, you're looking at all of those things. And I would say, as judges, you don't get overwhelmed by anything. You have to look at it and you judge. And I'll speak to judges now. When you're judging the pose. You're judging that pose. So there's nine poses. You're judging every one. So when I judge, I'm looking at who's one. I'm kind of jumping around. I'll give you a little bit of a variety of things here. So when I'm judging, I'm looking at that pose. So when I'm posing, I'm thinking the same thing. But when I'm judging, I'm looking at that pose and everything that complements it. So when I'm judging, I'm saying who's winning that pose. The pose is a side try. This guy hit his side try and then he kicked his leg out. Oh, he looks good. Well, then that guy kicked his ham out. So, oh, okay. So now I got to look at the pose itself, because now we got some variations here, and this guy looked really good here. He looked here. So guys, you understand? So I'm gonna call the pose again, or I'll give him, a different pose. But when I'm up there, I'm thinking the same thing. Hopefully, the seasoned judges are looking that way, so that if they're judging the pose that we're presenting, in my mind, I've got this guy beat in 5 of the poses. I know just from how the muscles presented, and then everything that accompanies that pose. So that is part of the how to sway the judges if they're big guys on stage and or guys more big and conditioned. Because I don't bring the size. I don't bring that size. So my signature is hard, lean, separation. If I can hit where I need to hit, then I can present, because you're always bigger than life on stage, right? At least that's the objective, to be bigger than life.
but you're very good at accomplishing that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I try to. The best compliments I get, I'll say from guys at the gyms that I train at. Matter of fact, the one now Shop Gym, and there's a lot of guys that compete, in that organization, and some of them are following me now. This dude, I had no idea you were that big. Well, I'm not that big. I just on stage is where, because at the gym, how I look, I don't, I won't compete size wise with you guys. But if I'm on stage, I will, there's a whole nother, that's another world. That's where I operate. I don't whatever you want to wear at the gym's fine. But however you look at the gym means nothing. It's not going to give you an advantage on stage. It's on stage where it counts. So so the compliment I get from them, or that I consider a compliment, is, dude, I didn't know you were that big. No, same size I was last week when you saw me before I hit the stage.
So here's a question. Obviously, competitive bodybuilding is meaningful to you. I'd like to understand, because what I find typically with most natural bodybuilders is that it's like me against me. I'm not worried about the other person on stage, and I'm really just looking to improve upon my last showing.
Mm-hmm.
But you bring an added layer of competition to this sport that is like more similar to any regular athlete competing in a different sport, where you're looking to win. You're looking
Yes.
to win. Every
Yes.
single time you step on stage, you're looking to win.
Yes.
And I'd like to better understand how you've like developed that level of competitive mindset relative to this sport, and why it seems to be like a rarity within
Mm.
natural athletes.
I don't know if hopefully I can succinctly say what I'm thinking, but I think sometimes here's the difference. I'm coming to win, but I'm still your friend. On stage we're battling, but after the stage, man, we're friends. Whether I always use the term, I took top honors. I used to really not even say, man, I won, I beat all these guys, because beat sounds like such a tough term. I beat them, because next show, you might beat me. You might take top honors. And I just say, when you take top honors, you don't always take top honors at every show, but your attitude can be, I'm coming to win. I think you have to have a winner's mentality. Now, you are competing against against yourself. The other part of that is, if you're bring that attitude that I'm coming to win, the judges have to see that, right? So there are variables in there that you can't control. If you say that and you don't win, you can't let that discourage you to the point where you feel deflated. Or if you come and you should have won and you didn't win, and I should have won, and you feel deflated because your mindset is you should have won, or you were coming to win. So I think sometimes the default is easier. It's a softer, if you will, maybe not in all cases, because I've said too, you ultimately are competing against you, right? If you come in and you place whatever, out of the top five, and it's the best you bought, you're competing against when you leave there at the end of the day, you have accomplished something. I, your attitude of a winner means you never lose, in my mind. So when I come in, no matter what happens, like I didn't place the top three, but in my mind, and I didn't lose, because I went, oh man, if I'd have did this. So next year when I tweaked it, I said, if I'd have bought that, I'd have been in that. I would have did my boy Vic a little bit, but or maybe moved in that area. So I take that as a learning opportunity, right? Legitimately, not just saying it. Like, I go back and I look at, here's where I went, man, you know what? I should have been here. I was there. Yeah, yeah. And even if I take top honors, I do the same thing. I always go, you know what, man, ooh, that was close. You know what? I can't pose. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to be fuller. So I'm always with the mindset of, go to win. I always say shoot for the moon and try to land among the stars. That's the objective. And if they don't see it that way, it is what it is. But and people said, how do Marshall, you have no idea what happened.
Hmm.
I said, look, prior to me taking the last sabbatical, which was, having prostate cancer and taking off for 4 years from 58 or right going into 58 to 61 or whatever it was. Um, what was I going? I was getting ready to go into something here. Kind of lost my train of thought. Let's see. Oh, I had already done. I probably did. I was doing 8 to 10 pro shows a year, probably because I thought, I was going to make a run, and then you know what, I'm getting older, so I did think about that. I'm just going to, enjoy, get the time, and I was getting invited, and I just probably should have took a little bit of time here and there, but I'm saying all that to say, out of 50 some pro shows, and a lot of I won, some of them I didn't win that I should have won. No question about it. People are saying to me, you had people that were biased, that you show up there, you've been, when you're winning a lot, you have a target on your back. Yeah, it's like, and people get envious, not because of me, just in general, right? They want to see you lose. They want to see somebody beat you, right? Even if they got to manipulate. So when people say, man, you have no idea, I go, I've been there, bought the T-shirt, and by the way, I'll use you for example. Why don't you ask Shaun? He was my boy. He was back in the day. He'll tell you He'll tell you what was happening backstage because he was friends with them, and he was coming to say, "Man, Marshall, people saying, dude, what they did to you wasn't right." I said, "You look, I didn't look at the pictures. You clearly know I should have won or should have been in whatever, but they saw it differently." And so I say to them, that cannot bring you to the point where it deflates you and discourages you. You got to leave that behind you, and that's that mindset of I've come to win. Because whether they placed you where they should have placed you or not, doesn't define whether you are a winner or not. The attitude is you're a winner regardless. Because now that's if you brought and did what you're supposed to do, not that you walked on stage and you weren't ready and you weren't prepared and all of that. But all the factors being what they should be, right? Then
Yeah.
then yeah, you don't let that become, because I've been there, and you got to talk yourself out of that. You got to move on to the next one. Grab something to eat for a couple days, you'll be good.
So, all right. I have three questions percolating. The first one is, let's say you did like 8 to 10 shows in 1 year. Did you give yourself a peak week for each show, or like you kind of just?
I
Because
did.
I also have a dream of doing like 8 to 10 shows, and like I want to do something. I want to have a career similar to yours, if I'm being completely honest.
Oh man,
Yeah, I really
humble.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you have the physique to be better than me, and anyone you certainly can bring that level of, if it's a mind over matter. When you
Yeah.
do lots of shows, it's a mind over matter thing. And as a young guy, I would say the thing I've noticed as I've gotten, well, I have more, you have responsibilities, and it depends on what you have going on in life, right? That's going to enable you to compete multiple shows at a high level, right? So life can get in the way sometimes, meaning you got things happening and you weren't, maybe you committed to the show. It's like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and get it done, but I really didn't. Some things have um, prohibited me from, being my best. But aside from that, yeah, you can do 8 shows, 10 shows, whatever. If your mindset in your body, which I think it will, once you have a mindset to say, I can be better the next show, because every show I'm thinking I can be better. I can be better. Now I've noticed this year, because I started so early, coming into this last swing here, I was like, ooh, a little tired. But I've been building my deck on my house. I've been working. I've been literally burning the candle. They said it, at both ends, but I think I broke the candle. I got two of them burning at both ends, right?
I feel that.
So but with that being said, still feel like I can bring a better package. Um,
Okay.
and you can't. I think there's some exceptions to perhaps some people body types, right? But I think for the most part, it is a mind over matter deal. Where if your mind says we're going to do it, the body will follow.
Amen. Amen.
Mhm.
Let me ask you, within like when you think about your entire life, right, up into you're about to turn 65 this month, how much of your identity, if you had to put it in percentage or however you want to articulate it, how much of your identity is encapsulated as a bodybuilder? Like, is that going on your gravestone? Like,
Mm.
how would you describe, how would you attach your life as a bodybuilder?
You know what? That is a excellent question because, gosh, I could say a lot, so much on that. Um, whatever it is you do can't be your identity. Cannot be
Mm,
your identity. Cannot. Because as I said on one interview, you're only as great as you were, right? Meaning, if I ask you, well, you'll know after a show, who was the top three that won? It was a big show. Who won the show? Well, I know. Well, that wasn't that so. There was one show. Guy was like, I said, I won that show. He goes, oh yeah, that's right. You. The only body that remembers me and my really close. But those that are even fans that saw, they're like, man, did you? Did did yeah? You did win, right? Yeah, I did. So I would say bodybuilding is something I do. And, bodybuilding is a unique thing because the level of just plain grit, just plain determination, um, mind over matter, grind, um, and the diet itself takes you to a place that I don't think any other sport takes you. Matter of fact, there isn't any other sport that takes you where bodybuilding at its highest level takes you. And I'm not saying it's a healthy level, but at that point, um, because it really does, you really do start to take on, if you allow it, it becomes your identity, right? Everything else kind of falls behind because you have on the blinders and you're focused. And that's why it's so difficult. If you have the mindset where that is your life, you'll be discouraged because it's not like crossing a finish line where it's a definitive winner, right? You can look at the tape and say, I mean, when guys are racing or whatever, and when Bowles runs across, it's no question when the guys are leaning in and he just had it. It wasn't a matter of someone going, no, the other guy won. They look at the tape. It's no question. The clock is looking at it. But in bodybuilding, or if you're wrestling, doing whatever, if you're doing MMA, it's hard, but you're eating all that. When you choke the guy or do whatever you do, you're out. You won. Now, boxing might be a little different for licks and all that kind of stuff. But still, you get to eat, right? You get to eat. When you're dieting and taking your body to those levels of sub levels of fat, it changes your metabolism. It changes your attitude. It can, right? I've decided and tried to say, listen, as a believer, as a Christian, if I can have the attitude, the mind of Christ when I'm not competing, I want to make sure I have that same mind when I am competing. Now, it may be a little bit more, I may feel a little bit more edgy, but I'm not going to respond that way. I'm going to give it time to go, you know what? I really want to respond. I'm really feeling this, and I don't think, but Marshall, let's take time to pray about this later. And then as I begin to overcome those things, I realized, hey, I control this temple, right? I control me. I'm the boss of me, along with God's help, the Holy Spirit living in me. My point is that it cannot be, it can't consume me because I think we've all been there where we did walk through that place where it just consumes us, right? And it becomes our identity. And that's why if it does, when you lose, you feel like someone has just done you wrong, right? Because or you think you bought the greatest package ever and someone is critiquing you or criticizing you and whatever. And so if that's your be all end all, they've just deflated everything, right? Because that's who what you're identifying with. So I've learned to not let bodybuilding or anything, define us. But I think bodybuilding has a very profound way of just, it just attaches to us, because there's a certain look. We're on stage, we're presenting ourselves, and other people are judging us. So everything we do, that's why, I've got so many thoughts in my mind. I'm glad you asked this question. Um, when you talk about bodybuilding being your identity, this is not the case for everything then that you do is geared towards it. I mean, everything. So I'll use this for example. Big shows coming up, doing big shows. When I'm at, like my grandson graduated from Air Force basic training, and so proud of him. He's doing great, San Antonio. But after I finished, the last show, so I went down there, had a week off, ate, enjoyed lots of food, did this, did that. Then I went and visited, prior to York, I was visiting my daughter and the brass granddaughter, and I had, took them out to dinner and did all this. But my point is that I know my body well enough. He said, man, you shouldn't have done that. You should stay on point. But I know that, listen, life is, and family is more, it's more important. It's going to, the dividends it pays is going to be greater than me just saying, I went on. Look, I'm not mad at anybody. Do your thing. But because I hear it all the time, and when I hear it, it's not that I'm judging you, but the body is so resilient. When you go on wherever with whoever, you don't have to weigh every ounce, and I'm not going to eat, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing the body resilient. I see it all the time, but I get on stage and I go, well, we'll see when I get there. And look, not that I'm some great guy. I win or I'm in top 2, top 3. So yeah, when you see that as your identity, then everything is working towards your identity, right? This is my identity, so therefore I've got to be the best, do the best. I've got to follow this regiment to a T. But I find that the body is very resilient. It will respond. And mentally, if things go awry, it doesn't cause you to be shipwrecked, right? You just go off the tracks, in my opinion. So like I said, so many thoughts on that, because I think that might be where people can get themselves in very precarious situations where it is your be all end all. Right now, I will say this, because I am a believer, a Christian. Then my foundation is Christ, right? And I build on that. Like I said to you, He takes what we do at whatever level and He uses it. He doesn't say, "Hey, I know you're good at this, but I'm gonna." No. He could, but whatever happens, it's going to be even better than what you're doing. And sometimes, those lessons that you learn where you should have won and you didn't. God's teaching me something. Maybe maybe I went in there with the wrong attitude, just like, man, I wanted to, because I've been there. God, I wanted to win this. I should have won. Like, hold on a second, Marshall. You have to check yourself here. Now it's not about the judge. It's not about anybody. It's about your heart. It's about how you are viewing things and viewing yourself. Mm. And I go, man, you're right. You know what? Because when I win, somebody else loses. I think about that. When I win the show, everything's great. I won. But what about the guy that got second, third, fourth, fifth? I think about those guys. I think about, and I actually pray for them. Lord, I hope that they're not discouraged. And I try to include them, say, look, and I don't mean this just as a phrase, just say we're all, hey, you won if you made it to the stage and you bought a package that was worthy of competing and really being competitive against other athletes that are there over there. You're a winner. So I'm saying all that to say is identity is a thing that I've learned to say, this is something I do, it's not who I am. Because it can change so quickly, man, so quickly, so very quickly.
Beautiful answer. It's a beautiful answer. I have two more questions. We're gonna have to.
I'll try to make
'Cause
it short. I'll try to make my
yeah,
answer
no, no,
short,
because
but
no,
I
this is
have to
this
give
is
some gab so I can.
no, I'm absorbing. I'm absorbing. All right, so I'm gonna sequence this.
Okay,
Okay, so the reason I'm very interested in you is, I'm completely and utterly ambitious, and I want to change the
sure,
world.
absolutely, absolutely.
And from my perspective, and there's a lot of evidence, scientific based evidence, that is suggesting that resistance training is the number one anti aging routine in the world. It trumps any other physical activity so far as exercise. And if you want to increase your health span and your longevity, resistance training is the best thing that you can do for your body, right?
Hmm.
And when I look at you, age 65, competing at like the top of the food chain so far as natural bodybuilding is
Sure,
concerned,
sure.
you are like a prime shining example of
Mm,
what happens if you discipline yourself to the task of resistance training. So that's why you're incredibly important to me.
mm,
And so far as like the athletes who are coming behind you, such as someone like myself, it is my hope to lead a life similar to yours so that
mm.
I can inspire other people to prioritize their health and wellness by implementing a resistance training routine into their life, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes, yes.
So I like that you say it's not your identity, it's what you do, and what you do happens to be incredibly healthy for you.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. So I would say that was intended to be a question, but it became a
Okay,
thing.
okay, yeah, yeah,
So
that's okay. That's
so
okay.
so the
All
actual
good.
question, like
Yeah.
completely going in a different direction, is what role does the ego play in your competitive bodybuilding career?
What role does ego play? When you say ego, give me a little bit of some parameters of what when you
So
say ego
I'm
means.
yeah. So within this project that I'm working on, it's called the Natty King, and we're looking to crown the next sports
Ah,
icon.
I see.
Yeah,
I
we're
see.
looking to crown the next sports
Right, right.
icon to come out of bodybuilding. And when I think of sports icons, I think of Michael Jordan. I
Sure.
think of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think of Muhammad Ali. I think of Tom Brady. I think of Cristiano Ronaldo. I think of like these great, larger than life sports personalities that
Sure.
are driven with a relentless desire to win and dominate within their respective fields.
Sure.
And a lot of these individuals have very large egos associated with being the greatest of all time.
Hmm.
And if you, Marshall Johnson, are existing in this competitive echelon of excellence so far as natural bodybuilding is concerned. And I'm looking to bring athletes to that same status and identify the one athlete who's got the drive, got the mentality, got the physique, got the charisma and the it factor and the star power, and promoting that individual as the guy to come out of natural bodybuilding. I ask you, who has had such experiences, what factor from your perspective does ego actually play in your own career?
Okay. So let me get this out and then I'll expound on it. When you were saying that, what I wanted to differentiate with is ego and arrogance.
Sure.
And when you say ego, sometimes people confuse that. Well, that person is very arrogant, or they
Mm-hmm.
have an arrogancy about. Now, you could have that, but I think all of the people that I won't say all, they're very confident in their ability because they've proven themselves. Right? Michael Jordan knew his ability. Like, I heard somebody say the guy was talking about Michael. I forget which player it was, and they were in a game, and he made a smart remark to Mike, and it was like he could turn it on. He said he literally. I was like, why did I even say anything? It was like he turned it on. He had another level. He could turn it on and just go, and it wasn't a matter of he wasn't taunting anybody. He just turned it on, got it done. And I always say, to be great, you don't have to toot your own horn. Let somebody else toot it. If somebody else toots your horn, then the, what seems to your ego, your confidence in what you're doing. My definition or my um, understanding when I say ego, it is a confidence that says, "Hey, I can win this." If I'm going to be if I was in an Natty King, I'd be saying the same thing. I can win this
Let's
because
not say that you're not,
yeah,
because we
I'm
haven't
not saying
finished
I don't.
casting.
I don't know if I'll be competing at that time. Now, we talked about that, but whatever I do, it's like, I'm going to try to be the best at what I do. I'm going to try to be the best at, my level of best. Now, if my level of best is not what is there, that's okay. But I'm always going to be who I am, right? There's some people that are a little bit more confrontational. They're a little bit more, they're just a little bit more out there. I'm not, but my demeanor is one that I think brings a level of confidence that says, "Hey, the guys that are doing whatever, I'm all that. That's all great. I just want to walk in and when I'll use this, and this seems somewhat arrogant. When you walk in, you don't have to say anything. When Michael Jordan walked in, he commanded respect. You didn't have to say, "You don't respect me, man. I'm the top. I'm the best." You don't have to say anything. You walk in, guy goes, "Oh, game's on." That's the attitude of ego for me, right? If I'm going to do something and I feel like if I'm going to do it, I'm coming to do it the best I can be, right? And if it's something that I have no chance of being the best at, I'll just say, look, I'm going to try to learn whatever this is, and hopefully get better at doing it. But I know it's not something that is my particular sport or activity, but I'm still going to do it to the best that I can. But something that is, I feel I've got something to bring to it, and I think I can be the best, and I'm gonna strive to be the best I can be in such a way that I exude a level of confidence with humility.
Mm.
Because what I want to say to guys and young guys, be confident, be all that, but always have a level of humility, right? Because you get humbled out here in all kind of ways, especially if you have an arrogant attitude. So if someone says, "Man, when I was coming up, man, I beat Marshall Johnson," I go, "Man, that's great. Look, you should every time you hit the stage, you should be trying to beat me. Every time I hit the stage, I'm going to be trying to beat you. We'll shake hands after, but on stage, we're going to be grinding. We're gonna be doing our thing. But when I come off, I'm not going to say, 'Man, I beat Shaun. I beat Shaun. He was like number one.' That gives me no accolades. You'll go further when someone else says, 'Man, Marshall Johnson beat Shaun,' but you'll never hear me say it."
I see. So it's like you don't turn ego into a negative thing. You turn it into a quiet thing.
Yeah, for me, that's how
Yeah.
I let. It's one of those where, matter of fact, when you were having your interviews with different people, I was listening, and I just said, it's different perspectives and how most people egos get presented on average, and
Mm-hmm.
that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that mine doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm trying to reach not only the bodybuilder, I'm trying to reach the everyday. When you talk about the Natty King, I'm trying to reach the person that says, "Man, this is interesting." Not because I have an arrogant or an egotistical attitude, but I have an attitude of, "Man, that guy's confident and there's humility about him. I like to hang.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can
Yeah.
have a cup of coffee or a beer or something. Man, I like to talk to this guy. It's kind of cool." That's what I'm bringing, because ultimately for me, is to present. So I'm gonna go in a different place. My ultimate goal is to present Christ to everybody that I meet in a way that they see something different about me than they do out in the world. So my response, and now that's my identity. That's what I operate from. I don't always do it the best that I can, but when I don't, I'm on my knees going, "Lord, I didn't handle that one right. Did not handle that one right. If I need to apologize, I will. If I hurt somebody, I can't sleep, can't do it. I've got to come back and say, "Shaun, I said something, man, on face whatever, and dude, not just you, but I'm gonna type it out. Shaun, I'm sorry. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
mean to say that. Not because I got called out, but
Mm-hmm.
because internally there's something, you know, that says the Spirit of God that says, man, that you didn't handle that right." So my presentation is to present to the world another side of that coin.
Mm-hmm.
I can have an ego of confidence,
Mm-hmm.
but my ego of confidence is not egotistical or trying not to be or arrogant. It
I
is
love it.
always now, and when I come to win or come to be my best I can be, I hope I congratulate you when you take top honors. That
Right.
I really feel like, man, Shaun was good night. That boy was on like a champ. He looked good. I hope to step back and go, okay, you gotta grind a little bit harder, Marshall, but man, he looked good.
That's it.
It's giving that person um, the honors and credit that's due them. And I think because you know, gosh, you use some figures in wrestling and all those guys are great, but they had a persona that they were trying to present. You could be the bad guy, the good guy, you're presenting whatever. And that's fine because that is something they're trying to present in order to gain a following, either even a bad following. They hate you, but you got a million people that hate you. That's, in that arena, that's a good thing. I hate him. Everybody knows them and everybody hates you, right? But that's what they're bringing. So with that being said, I always call it the old term in computers, WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get, right? When you see me, wherever you see me, I will always be the same. There's no persona of me trying to project an image, I hope, right? And if I am projecting an image and it's the wrong one, I'll correct it. So I'm going to be who I'm going to be, regardless of what the end game is. If I got to win and be the best, I'm still going to be me, and I'm still going to come in and take top honors, or try to. And when I walk away, because I think at the end of I have to be true to myself, and I think at the end of the day, everyone, you have to be true, to who you are. And I'm saying that not true to who you are if you are doing stuff that you're like, this is who I am. I'm not saying that kind of, but true in the sense of having a heart for people, having a heart for people at the end of the day. So that's my identity. That's what kind of defines me, and everything else I use as a stepping stone to that. Matter
Mm.
of fact, when I started winning bodybuilding shows back when I came back in my 50s, I said to God, I said, Lord, I really want to use this as a platform to reach young guys. And literally, I went. I'm not saying I wouldn't have gone up, but that was what I wanted to do. Because when I meet young guys, as I met them, I met one guy, I'm talking to him, and I was sharing something. He said, man, Morris, if you said it, it must be true. I go, no, it's not true because I said it, but because I had such credibility. They used my achievements as somehow I was bigger than life to them, on a level because they wanted to get there. But that gives me opportunity to speak into their life because, when you're talking about identity, your life is going to have all kinds of turns and twists and things, and you got to be able to navigate those things. And that's what I look for opportunity to help them grow into those areas in their life. And we use this as a stepping stone or a commonality for us to have discussions, and talk about. But everything in bodybuilding that has a real connection or correlation with with spiritual with a spiritual walk. I mean, the discipline, the regimented, all of those things just coming in. When you don't feel like doing it, you're doing it, right? When you're eating things that, like, what, I'm not going to eat this, but I'm going to eat that. It's like, what, if I do this is something that's really not going to help me spiritually. Not that I can't, but that's not what, I'm going to do this instead. I don't go to church. You know what? It's not that I need to go to church because I'm religious, but there's other believers there of like faith, and I have time to worship God, and I get to hear
Right.
God more clearly because it's quiet. That's kind of my mindset. Yeah.
So how I interpret everything that you're saying is it all kind of, it's encompassed into alignment. So bodybuilding is aligned with your identity.
Exactly.
So so is your ego. Your ego is aligned with who you are and your purpose. And
Exactly.
your
Well said.
purpose,
Well said.
your
Well
purpose
said.
is godly. Your personality is also aligned with your purpose. And your
Right.
purpose is to bring people to
Right.
Christ.
Yeah.
So that really kind of makes everything simpler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you say bring people to Christ, it's really about expressing God's love to people.
Mm.
Now, and expressing God's love to people, and if they receive it, great. If they
Hmm.
say, "Man, I don't," That's okay. I never forced anything, and I'm not trying to proselytize or anything, but I'm trying to communicate to them that, hey, if you're trying to find your identity and some level of purpose or uh, being with this particular thing, it'll fail you. Ultimately, it'll fail you. It just will. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. When you get to the end of the rainbow, you realize there's no pot of gold there like you thought. You know, and as soon as you stop doing what you're doing, everybody forgets who you are.
Mm, 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 mm. That's something to reflect on. Okay, this was great. I got to pick up my son.
Okay, all right. Always
But
a pleasure, man. Always
yeah,
a pleasure catching up.
what a
And
thing to end on. What a thing to end on.
yes,
Yeah, I'm gonna be reflecting on that one. Yeah, this was great.
awesome, awesome. Always a
Hey,
pleasure.
yeah.
You know, just chopping it up, man. And
Yeah.
you know, iron sharpens iron, right? It's
Amen.
good to,
Amen.
to
Well, I'm just so grateful for knowing you, and I always knew that when I first discovered you a year back, and then it took like 6 to 8 months for us to like really start corresponding. Even back then, I was like, yeah, me and Marshall are gonna be, we're gonna be.
oh, that's awesome.
I
That's
knew it.
awesome.
I knew it. I knew it.
That is
So
awesome. Yeah.
cool.
Well,
All
yeah, I'm
right.
gonna try to make it out there. We're gonna try to catch up, do a little quick, just whatever.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Likewise.
All
All
right,
right.
my
I'm gonna
friend.
wish you a great rest of your weekend, and we will
Yes,
talk
thank
soon,
you.
my friend.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
All
Talk to
right.
you
Take
soon.
care.
All right. Bye.